6. In the morning, I step outside with my coffee, and there it is, a giant for sale. Sign staked right on the shore of my lake. A lake my family has owned since 1962, and standing next to it, smiling like a queen on her throne, was the HOA president, claiming she had the right to sell it. That was the moment I knew this was war.
Wow.
Act 1. The Spark of Conflict. My name's Marcus Kellerman, 44. I spent 20 years running heavy equipment in Denver, working jobs that left me sunburned, tired, and aching every night, but I saved every dime. When my grandfather passed, he left me his pride and joy, a 40-acre ranch in Pine Ridge Valley, complete with an 8-acre lake carved right into the land. That lake wasn't just water, it was memories. Fishing with him as a kid, summer evenings with fireflies. It was mine, but time changes things. Over the years, Pine Ridge Valley sprouted a luxury estate neighborhood next door. 35 new houses, shiny SUVs, manicured lawns, and with them came an HOA armed with rules, fines, and their queen bee president, Karen Whitmore. Karen first approached me sweet as honey. She asked if her son could take a few engagement photos by the lake. I thought, why not? No harm in a couple of pictures. But when the day came, it wasn't a photo shoot. It was a full-blown wedding party. DJ, champagne, rented chairs all set up without my permission. When I told them to pack it up, Karen got in my face. This lake belongs to the community. Marcus, you don't get to hoard it. That's when I realized she wasn't asking. She was taking. Over the next few weeks, I started seeing stakes and flags around my shoreline. A man in a reflective vest with a measuring wheel claimed half the lake was HOA property. Surveyor, Karen said, but when I checked his credentials, he wasn't licensed. He was her brother-in-law. Then came the flyers, community lake access coming soon, plastered around Pine Ridge, bragging that property values would skyrocket once residents had rights to our lake. And suddenly, neighbors who used to wave at me started glaring. I was the selfish recluse hoarding nature.
What you saw.
Act 2. Escalation and the twist. That's when the harassment began in full force. Noise complaints, random sheriff visits, bogus environmental reports about oil spills. Every week it was something, and every single time, the call traced back to Karen. I started bleeding money into legal fees. Thousands gone, just to prove I wasn't poisoning my own water. One night, sitting alone in my cabin, I looked out at the lake reflecting the moon and thought, maybe she's right. Maybe I should just sell, walk away, let her have it. My grandfather's voice echoed in my head, but even that felt faint under the weight of stress. What's the point of holding on to something if it costs you your peace? I nearly gave up, but then allies started showing up. Fletcher Grimm, 71, old postal worker, walked over one morning with a USB stick. Caught something you'll want to see, he muttered. On the footage, Karen and her surveyor planting stakes at midnight, laughing about suckering the cowboy. Then came Gladys Morton, 82, retired librarian. She handed me binders stacked high, 3 years of financial records. She said, Karen's been bleeding HOA dues dry, contracts to her cousins, landscaping that never happened, over $100,000 missing. And finally, my lawyer, Bill Crawford, tough old ranch hand turned attorney. He dug through the deeds and smiled. Marcus, the entire lake is yours, always has been. Their survey's fake. And here's the kicker, if we can prove financial misconduct, you can revoke Karen's right-of-way easement. I didn't just have the means to defend my lake, I had the power to cut off her access to her own house. For the first time in months, I felt a spark in my chest. This wasn't just about keeping what was mine anymore, it was about turning the tables.
Wow.
Act 3. The showdown. Karen wasn't slowing down. She called a meeting at the HOA Community Center. Her big reveal. She strutted in with glossy renderings of lakefront access for all, claiming she had the legal right to sell lots along my shoreline. She even bragged about suing me with $45,000 of the community's legal budget. The crowd of homeowners clapped, though uneasily until I walked in. Bill set up our projector. Slide after slide exposed Karen's fake survey. Invoices to her family members. HOA checks written to shell companies. Murmurs turned into shouts. That's my money. Where did the dues go? Karen's face twisted, but she doubled down, gavel in hand. This is slander. This man is a liar. A bully, he doesn't belong here. That's when Fletcher stepped up with his footage. The screen lit up with Karen and her brother-in-law hammering stakes in the dead of night, cackling about our new lake. Gasps filled the room. Phones recorded every second. Cornered. Karen lost it. She stormed out, only to be caught hours later, breaking into the community centre, shoving HOA financial records into trash bags, trying to burn them in the parking lot. When the deputies arrived, she was holding a lighter over a pile of shredded checks, caught red-handed. Within days, the sheriff, county investigators, and even local news were all over it. Karen wasn't just an overreaching HOA president anymore. She was a fraudster, a thief, a criminal. And then came the sweetest twist of all. Her house went into foreclosure, debts piling up from legal fees and restitution. And at the county auction, I bought it. Cheap. Now, legally, I owned the parcel of land that provided the only road to her old lot. With a stroke of a pen, I revoked her easement. Karen Whitmore, the self-proclaimed Queen of Pine Ridge, no longer had access to the very neighborhood she once ruled. The same neighbors she tormented watched her pack up, humiliated, escorted off what used to be her kingdom. But it's it. Final beat. I still sit on my porch sometimes, coffee in hand, staring at that lake. The water's quiet again, peaceful. But every time I see the reflection of the sky on its surface, I remember the war I fought to protect it and the empire that collapsed because one woman got greedy. Wow. Lesson. When someone tries to steal what you've built, don't just defend, find the truth and let it bury them. Ciao.